All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the world famous Prospect Avenue podcast. I am your host, Kris Baker, here in my very uninspiring office in lovely Hamburg, New York. Date of recording, October 30th, 2023. Happy Halloween to you and yours. Happy cavity season. Fall still sucks. Getting cold here in Buffalo, but that's all right. I'm at the point now where I'm actually ready for it to snow. I'd rather take snow than this cold rain. And it's something I'm not going to complain about anymore. I'm just going to kind of put a bow on that right there because this is a prospects podcast. We're here to talk hockey, have a lot to get to again this week. And we'll dive right in. But, real quick, recording this the day after the Sabres picked up a big victory over the Colorado Avalanche on a Sunday afternoon. I hate afternoon games, by the way. I guess I'm not done complaining about things, but hockey to me is just much better consumed when it's dark outside and, you get a fire going and whatever. Sunday afternoons are for football, not for hockey. But at any rate, big win for the Sabres. Nice win for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in the Sabres net. First NHL shutout. Good to see him get off to a nice start in that game and hold the fort down. I think the Avs had about 9 or 10 shots on goal in the top half of that opening period before the Sabres got their legs going, got some goal support going. But Luukkonen, really great job from start to finish. I thought that was a good team win. And I think they're onto something here, coming into November. I know they've been ping-ponging back and forth, win-loss over their last 7 games, but it's time for this team now to get a winning streak or two going here in the month of November. You know the old adage, got to be in playoff position by Thanksgiving if you are thinking of yourself as a contender. And we know that this team has the talent. I think Don Granato putting the lines in a blender a couple times in the past week or so has worked out. I mean, it worked for Peterka there in that game against Colorado, but nice win. Good to see UPL going. They're going to have to keep him really, active and sharp as Devin Levi gets back on into his skates and in net for some action here. We'll see what happens with Eric Comrie out, but I guess that's why they kept 3 goaltenders. These are topics that I'll be talking about in much deeper with Matthew Fairburn. Going to start doing a weekly podcast with Matthew right here on the YouTube channel. Also, you can find it if you search Baker Fairburn Hockey Show. Really creative name that we came up with right now. We'll flip it to something at some point, but just to get the feed established on Spotify and YouTube and Amazon, that's what I threw out there. But if you're not familiar, by the way, with Matthew, Sabres beat writer for The Athletic, really good, sharp, young writer on the scene. Really enjoy Matthew. He's a great guy. And I just think he's just really smart with how he goes about his business. So really excited to do a Sabres-based podcast with him every week. But that doesn't mean that we're going to stop talking about the prospects. We're going to keep that train chugging down the tracks here every week here on Prospect Avenue, and we're just going to jump right in. And I think the most prudent place to start is with Matthew Savoie, who is now 3 games in to his AHL conditioning loan with the Rochester Americans. Savoie has quickly settled in, really made an impact from, his first or second shift in that first game Wednesday against Charlotte. But, he's been making smart plays, hounding pucks. He's really quick to make decisions when he has the puck on his stick. And he's using that acceleration, that speed quite a bit to make plays. A lot of the plays that stand out in my mind from his first 3 games with the Amerks are where he's used that speed burst to go and engage the play and get stick on stick, stick on puck, or race to a loose puck and make a play with it. So I really like what we've seen thus far with Savoie. And he got going really early, making an impact in his first game. Hopped over the boards on the power play, lined up at the right circle on a set play that Vinny Prospel drew up for that PP1 unit. And faceoffs won. Savoie makes a beeline to the left corner, takes a high to low pass, and as soon as he gets it, he finds Michael Mersch. Quick identification, quick pass, and Mersch buries it for the Amerks' first goal of the game to make it a 1-1 game. And overall, I think Savoie did a really nice job on that line with Jiri Kulich and Isak Rosen. They were out for 1 goal against in that Wednesday game against the Checkers. But overall, I thought they performed really well, especially defensively. They earned key minutes. There was a time last week where they were out late in a game defending a 5-on-6 with the extra attacker, but it was good to see Savoie get going. He did get his first goal on Friday night. Jeremy Davies sprung Savoie for a pass, hit him right on the tape in the neutral zone. Savoie took a first couple of strides, got himself a little wide, gained separation, and got a shot off that beat Laval goaltender Jakub Dobiš right between his legs. Maybe that was a goal that Dobiš wanted back. I'm not really certain about that, but what I can tell you is that Savoie didn't have a lot of net to shoot at, and that's what goal scorers do. They find the holes, and he put that puck through the hole right between the legs and over the line. And I was talking a little bit about that speed of Savoie. He showed that on Saturday in the Amerks road game in Utica, where the Amerks cleared the zone. Savoie just broke out of the zone, raced to the loose puck, captured it again, couple steps, and hit Jiri Kulich. Kulich, by the way, goes in for a breakaway, does a little shoulder juke where he gets the goalie moving to one side and quickly buried the forehand for his 6th goal of the season. Kulich's 6th goal has him now tied for 3rd overall in the American Hockey League this year. But overall, like I said, that line, they were solid. 3 really young players with a lot of responsibility there in those 3 games. I thought they were going hard on the forecheck. They were winning battles. I can't recall really any egregious turnovers. They were certainly very good with the puck. Seth Epper talked about how that unit earned the minutes that they were getting because they were playing the right way. You hear Seth Epper talk about that a lot, and you could see it by watching those 3 games. Instant chemistry with those 3. And we'll see if they can keep it going here in the next couple of games this week when the Amerks get back to work on Wednesday. But with Kulich and Rosen, I had mentioned that they were out there with Savoie late in the game, defending the extra attacker. And that's kind of what we talked about last week when we were covering Kulich and Rosen's hot starts, is that it's great that they're getting the statistics and the offense is coming. Now you want to see some different situations, get some defensive zone starts late in the game, protecting a 1-goal lead, et cetera, et cetera. And we're seeing that. We saw that this week with Savoie riding shotgun with those 2. So again, a really nice development to get those 3 young players going on that line. And I mentioned Kulich now 3rd in the AHL with his 6 goals. He and Isak Rosen leading the Amerks with 9 points each. That has him in the top 10 in AHL points. And things are really happening. Rosen, by the way, on him, 4 goals this year. What I like about those 4 goals is that 2 of those came on tips, deflections from in the slot. So he's not getting by using that quick release from the outside or high in the circles. He's scoring goals by going to the right spots on the ice. Again, playing the right way. That's an example of what that means. Rosen, when he doesn't have the puck, he's going where he needs to be, getting his stick on pucks. And, these are goals that Rosen's scoring that you didn't see him doing a lot. Now, he didn't have to hit traffic and, deflect pucks from the point when he was playing in juniors. He always had the puck on a stick and he was dangling guys and, just skating around them and getting clean looks on goaltenders. But he's adapting his game to the North American style and playing against professionals for the second year here in North America. And I thought it was important to point that out. 2 goals off tips. That's a good sign. Again, high skill player, good stick, and he's using it in different ways. Now, Rosen did have a season opening 6-game point streak that came to a halt in Utica on Saturday. So we'll see if he can restart another run here and maintain the hot hand. Rosen, Kulich, and I guess we'll say Savoie also, since Savoie had points in all 3 games thus far. They're not the only young players doing well and standing out in different ways on the farm. I do want to give a shout out to Nikita Novikov, the young defenseman. He responded really well in the 3 games last week, I thought, after having a tough game in Laval last week. I think being a veteran of the KHL and being around mature players has made him also a mature young player in his first North American season this year. I liked how he responded after the tough game and then sitting down, came back out and just was really strong physically, asserted himself. I mean, he had some hits, man, where he knows how big and strong he is. You can tell. And there was a couple instances where he almost buried guys through the glass. I mean, just really forceful, hitting with a purpose. But, he's also joining the attack. And that's a dynamic that we've talked about quite a bit early in the season, both with the Sabres and the Amerks, that playing fast and getting the defenseman up in the play. And we saw that quite a bit from Novikov last week as well. So Novikov now has 5 assists through 6 games. He's tied for the lead among all American Hockey League rookie defensemen with those 5 points. And what's really cool about what Novikov is doing is that he's had 4 different defensive partners in the young season thus far. Started out with Riley Stillman, saw some time with Cale Clegg, had a game with Joseph Ciccone, and then I think the last 2, he was partnered up with fellow rookie defenseman Ryan Johnson. So wanted to call that out. We can talk. I have a feeling we're going to be able to talk about Kulich and Rosen probably every week on this podcast, but we'll mix in others and when they are deserving, of course. And Novikov was definitely deserving of the shout out after a nice week down on the farm. Real quick hit also on Viktor Neuchev. In that game Wednesday, the first of 3 that the Amerks played last week, very early in the game, Neuchev was injured on a hit from former Amerks defenseman Casey Fitzgerald. So for you watching on YouTube, you saw the hit right there. Neuchev left the game, did not return. He didn't play Friday or Saturday. Right now, he's considered day to day. And hopefully that's a good sign that we'll see Neuchev soon back in action. He had 1 goal in his first handful of games with the Amerks, playing mostly on a line with Tyson Kozak and Philip Cederquist. But hopefully that day-to-day designation implies that we will see him back up and running soon, because he was making progress game over game, and would hate to see that momentum stunted so early in the season for the young player. And while we're talking about the Amerks, I think it's going to be really hard to not give a shout out to Lukas Rousek as well. Technically, in my world, Rousek is no longer a prospect, and I'm using finger quotes on that one. Of course, he's still a prospect trying to, make it to the NHL, but he's a 24-year-old guy on his 2nd NHL contract. And for me, when I'm ranking prospects, and we'll talk about rankings very soon, I think we'll have an exercise that we'll do a rankings exercise of the Sabres prospects. I've been against it lately, but I think we're going to pull one out. But I won't be ranking Lukas Rousek. I don't like the idea of evaluating players on their 2nd NHL contracts against guys that are, 18, 19 years old. I look at prospects, again, by definition for my world, 18 to 23 or on their first NHL contract. So with that said, though, Rousek, love him. He's a dog, man. And he scored 2 beautiful goals last week, his first 2 goals of the season, that really exemplify his determination, his hard work, and his goal scoring ability. 2 really nice goals to get himself breakaways. The first one started with a really nice defensive stick in the defensive zone, broke up a pass, raced down, had a guy draped all over his back, and Rousek goes down and just kind of gets the guy off of him and finishes off the play. And I just thought that was fantastic work ethic and a nice skill play to get the goal. Now with Rousek, the second goal that he scored last week, it was another play where he used his speed, outraced a defenseman to the loose puck, came in on a breakaway, and again showed off that finishing ability for his 2nd goal of the year. But I think a lot about Rousek this year. Amerks leading point getter last year. He can play with skilled players. He's pretty much stapled on that wing with Brandon Byro at center when Byro's healthy. So he's kind of a top line player in the AHL. That's probably not the role that you're going to see when he does make it up to the NHL, probably on a full-time basis. I think he's got the game for that. He's more of a bottom line guy. And I keep thinking about how the Sabres, they like to get in those up and down games. They like to play fast, and Rousek's a guy that can do that offensively, and he can really pressure the puck and play a little bit more of a suffocating style on the forecheck with his foot speed, take time and space away, force defensemen into bad decisions. And I just have a hard time imagining a scenario where you don't see him this year for, 10, 12 games, maybe. We came into this season thinking that Kyle Okposo, might need a break, not going to play every night. Zemgus Girgensons, just his style. He's going to have a couple dings here and there. And Rousek's the obvious guy you call up. But even without the injuries or, giving Kyle Okposo a rest, I just think that the style of play that the Sabres have talked about deploying this year, playing fast, and this is a team that likes to get in those up and down games, Rousek fits that system, that style to a T. Again, not the prettiest player, but he is just a dog, and he's gotten so strong too. I recall watching Rousek a couple of years ago when he was with Sparta Prague as a very young player playing professionally in the Czech Extra League. And he got a call up to Czechia's national team for one of those Euro Hockey Tour events. And it was pretty clear from the get-go that he was overmatched physically. He really learned a lesson about upper body strength and needing to get stronger, getting leverage to win more board battles, and just being stronger over the puck when he was carrying it. And I think when he was out rehabbing that knee injury, that it wasn't just lower leg rehab that he was doing. He clearly got stronger up top. We saw it last year, and you're really seeing it this year. So Rousek's a guy, again, I just wanted to call him out as a player who is a no-brainer for this system and a lower line plug minutes role this year. If they need him, even to come up, if it wasn't just about maybe Okposo or Girgensons that you have to fill a gap for, I don't think that, even if Kulich's going really good, really well, and Isak Rosen's going really well, I still think Rousek's the guy based on the body of work and just overall readiness, two-way readiness for the NHL game. So, I don't know. I just wanted to give him a shout out. I just love watching him play. I like those Swiss Army knife types that can play up and down the lineup and just work their tail off. And that is Lukas Rousek to me. So we covered the Amerks here in the first 20 minutes or so of this podcast. So we're just going to keep this train cruising down the tracks here. We're going to head over to Europe real quick and follow up on a conversation that we had last week about Vequa centerman Noah Ostlund. So Ostlund, we talked last week, he got the goal, right? After coming back from that injury scare, he got hit with a puck in warmups, missed that game, came back the very next game with the cage on and got his game going quickly by taking a puck to the hole, following up on his own shot, jamming a rebound over the line. And he came out last week, played 3 games and scored goals in 2 of them and put together his first career in the SHL 3-game goal streak for Vequa. And I like the way that he scored the goals. It was a variety of goals. So as I mentioned, and we showed the video clip last week on Prospect Avenue, came out from the injury, split the D, went right to the hole, jammed his rebound over the line. That was goal 1. Goal 2, he comes out, he gained the zone, goes deep in the zone, cleans up a rebound. And then the third goal that he scored for that 3-game goal streak is one I really like, where gets the puck breaking out of the zone. He's in the neutral zone. He makes a really nice play around a defender to gain the offensive zone. And then he just unleashes a laser of a wrist shot, really quick release, really high velocity shot, got him another goal. And that's the point of his development that I really want to talk about this week, is that Ostlund's been known mostly as a playmaker, a puck distributor. He's really good carrying the puck, setting up the attack, and he's a point guard out there. I've used that analogy quite a bit. But now you're seeing him use his shot more. He wants to become more sharper with his shooting skill. He's acknowledged that as an area that he needs to improve on. And that goal that he scored last week, and that was a big goal against Airbro, that was evidence of the work that he's put in. So now he becomes that dual offensive threat. He's not just a guy that you have to guard against the pass. He's now going to be a guy that's going to be able to shoot from range and go to the dirty areas and battle for pucks in the goal mouth and jam them over the line. So it was the variety of goals that he scored in that 3-game goal streak that was worth calling out, highlighted by the improved shooting skill and accuracy that you're seeing with his wrister. I just think that you have a really dynamic offensive forward here. When he gets bigger and stronger, look out. I think that he's going to be an impact player this year at the World Junior Championship. I've said it before. I think the hockey world is going to know who Noah Ostlund is come January, based on his performance that I'm thinking we're going to see for Team Sweden at the World Juniors this year on home ice when that tournament takes place in Gothenburg. And on the topic of the World Juniors, actually, Ostlund and Antin Wahlberg, they will be beginning their quest and preparation for the World Juniors when Sweden's under-20 team goes to Czechia for a Five Nations event next week. That's going to be a tournament in Czechia, November 9th through the 12th. Sweden will play 4 games in 4 days against Switzerland, Slovakia, Czechia, and Finland. And Ostlund obviously is a lock for the team. He's going to be a top-line centerman. I have no doubts about that. Wahlberg, it's a really nice development. I'd mentioned in the past that he was kind of coming out of that summer World Junior Summer Showcase, that he was still kind of had some work to do to really firm up his spot in those top 12 or 13 forwards. I think the start that Wahlberg has had as a second line right wing with Malmo has done that for him. And it was nice to see Sweden's decision makers acknowledge that with a spot here in this Five Nations event. Again, November 9th through the 12th. I should have those games dialed up. I should be able to chop up some highlights and show you what's been happening in those games. But that'll be about 2 weeks from now that I think we'll be able to cover that here on Prospect Avenue. So look out for that. Oh, we love World Junior season. That's my favorite part of the year. And man, it's not November yet, so I guess I'm a little bit ahead of myself, but whatever. And real quick, while we're here in Sweden, want to wish a happy belated birthday to Buffalo Sabres' 7th round pick from the 2022 draft, 202nd overall, Joel Radkovich-Berntsson. He turned 20 years of age on October 18th. And in celebration of his birthday, throw up a couple highlights for those watching on YouTube. Radkovich-Berntsson wearing number 91 in the green jerseys. And Radkovich-Berntsson celebrated his birthday on the 18th. And a week later comes out and gets his first goal of the season, got the monkey off his back. Nice finish around the net. That was his first goal since joining FPS in Finland's second division, the Mestis. 13 games in, Radkovich-Berntsson just kind of cruising along with a goal. He has 5 assists. He's averaging 16.05 of work each game. Middle 6 minutes at this point, getting some PP time. But he's easing his way into the pros here. And look, the Sabres hold his rights until 2026. And I understand he's a 7th round pick, kind of a lottery ticket in that regard, but really nice offensive skill set, really good handle on the puck, can carry it with confidence. He is a goal scorer. He's got a good shot. This was a guy that scored 20 goals in 34 games last season for Frölunda in the under 20 ranks in Sweden. And I'm firmly putting him in that never say never bucket. We've seen 7th rounders from Sweden hit before, Victor Olofsson, and maybe Joel Radkovich-Berntsson's a guy that can catch fire here this season. Now that he's got that monkey off his back, leverage that shooting profile that he brings to the table and maybe earn a look up a league. FPS is the Mestis affiliate for Hamelina, HPK in Liga. Maybe you can get a look up there. Maybe next season you can get back into Sweden with a job in Hockey Allsvenskan or maybe the SHL. But needless to say, he's a talented offensive player. I know he's playing in just a second division professionally right now as a late round draft pick, but I've always liked the look of his game. I think if he can just show some dominance at the current level that he's at and catch fire and get a look and get an opportunity, I think he could do some good things with it before that June 2026 decision day comes for the Sabres. So never say never with Joel Radkovich-Berntsson. Want to do a couple quick updates here without highlights for those watching on YouTube, which reminds me, by the way, every week On the YouTube channel, there will be weekly highlight packs of every goal scored by a Sabres prospect that week. I think we have like 3 of them up there right now. So if you're a visitor to the YouTube channel, be sure to check those out. If you are someone that consumes this podcast audio only on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, whatever, definitely visit youtube.com/Sabres prospects, one word, and check out those video packages as well. I think it's helpful to offer a little bit of color to some of the discussions that we have here every week on Prospect Avenue. But to the NCAA ranks, couple call outs. Talked a little bit about Steven Sardarian, the UNH sophomore winger, over the past couple of weeks here on the show. And he kept going last week with a pair of goals, including the game winner as UNH knocked off number 18 Northeastern by a score of 4-1. That was on Thursday. And it was really good to see the Sardarian line respond after having their minutes reduced the weekend prior against Quinnipiac. I didn't think that line played poorly, but clearly the other lines were going more. And I think that the UNH coaching staff really challenged that second line to go hard every shift. And that's what we saw. The game winning goal, Sardarian scored the first one that he scored in that Thursday victory over Northeastern. It was a hard-working goal right in front of the net, right at the edge of the blue paint. He was right there battling for a puck right at the left post, knocked it over the line. Hard-working goal. And those are the types of goals that I think we want to see Sardarian mix in, kind of like what we talked about with Noah Ostlund. More dirty work and rolling your sleeves up and scoring goals that way. They're not all going to be the pretty high skill ones, leveraging the space that you're given. Sometimes you got to go and work for what you get. And Sardarian did that. But Sardarian, in that victory on Thursday, extended his season opening point streak to 4 games, but then it grinded to a halt on Saturday when the Wildcats came out and earned a 3-1 victory over Dartmouth. So Sardarian, though, still a point per game player. He has 5 through 5. And if you go back to last February, Sardarian has 11 points in his last 13 NCAA tilts. That's a nice number for a sophomore who's still getting stronger and still adapting to the speed of the NCAA game. So I really like the start that Sardarian's off to. And now with UNH sitting at 4-1 on the year, they're ranked for the first time all year. They came in on the latest college hockey rankings at number 15 in the country. And the road's going to stay tough for UNH. They have a home and home series against number 7 Providence this weekend. So we'll see if the Wildcats can build off their early season success. Again, 4-1 wins over Boston University, Quinnipiac, Northeastern among those 4 victories that they have, and getting 1 or 2 against the Friars would just be a really nice notch on their early season belt. Going to head west to the Big Ten real quick. Just a quick update on Aaron Huglin. The Minnesota Golden Gophers came into last weekend. At the time, they were the top ranked team in the country. Well, they were swept by the University of Wisconsin Badgers last week by scores of 5-2 and 3-2. And in that second game on Friday, Aaron Huglin did score his second of the season, and it was a really nice goal. Brought the puck out of the corner on the left wing side and came off those left boards and had to stick handle through a maze of sticks to get himself to the center of the ice to get a better shooting angle. Got right to the hash marks and let go of a quick shot. Got a second goal of the year. Really pretty goal. That will be in one of those highlight packages that you can find on the Sabres Prospects YouTube channel. Again, one last plug. Please check it out. They're quick videos, and I think they're very useful for those that don't get a chance to watch a lot of these prospects. But the biggest thing with Huglin last week for me, it was that, the goal was nice, obviously, but I'm also tracking his faceoff success this year. Talked about this a couple weeks ago where called it out as an area that you want to see him improve on as he builds out his two-way game. And faceoffs are going to be a big part, I think, of what Huglin does as he works his way into a professional career. He was 57% on draws last week against Wisconsin. He went 8 for 15 on Thursday, then came out on Friday and won 8 of 13. So 16 of 28 for the weekend. Moving in the right direction is Aaron Huglin at the faceoff circle. Now you want to see him just pick up more points, and he'll continue to be a guy that Bob Motzko throws out there in key situations in all 3 zones throughout the game. One last note at UConn, Jake Richard the freshman winger for the Huskies, picked up an assist last week as UConn split a Hockey East set with Lowell. That keeps Richard atop the Huskies points leaderboard with 2 goals and 7 total points through 8 games. And Richard had a new centerman last week. So the first handful of games for UConn on their schedule, Richard was lined up at wing with Matthew Wood. They took Wood out of that center spot with Richard and they put him out to wing. And Matthew Wood uncorked 28 shot attempts in the 2 games against Lowell. So I think that was probably the right move for Kavanaugh and the rest of the coaching staff there at UConn. But Richard just keeps doing his thing. Took his first penalty over the weekend. He was battling for a puck in front of the net. By the way, again, just an immovable presence. Really digs in and holds his ground around the net. He circled around the back of the net and got engaged with the defenseman, came up high with a cross check, and that player was down for a little bit, definitely shaken. And that was Richard's first minor penalty of his NCAA career. So we called that his first goal, his first assist. Might as well call out his first minor penalty. So there you go. And finally, this week, we'll finish it out with a couple notes from the Canadian Hockey League. Vsevolod Komarov, he had a career best 4-point night with 4 assists on Sunday. Also logged a career high 6 shots on goal in Quebec's 6-1 win over St. John. So Komarov earned a spot on the QMJHL Team of the Week as one of their 5 standout skaters. And also that week, in the Saturday game against Moncton, I think it was, Komarov took, and I'm going to dial it up here for those watching on YouTube, his second check into the head penalty of the year. So, you want to see him maintain his edge and stay out of the box. He has 27 penalty minutes thus far through his first 11 games of the season. But needless to say, he'll dial that in. But he has that physical element to his game, no doubt. And that's evidenced by a lot of the hits that he's laid this year. He's got a lot of roughing penalties this year, some high sticking penalties amongst those 27 minutes and penalties. Of course, one of those high hits that he got called for was a 5-minute game misconduct. But, this is a physical player. He's a big time workhorse on the blue line. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a robust trade market for Komarov at the QMJHL trade deadline this year. Teams are going to be looking for a physical guy that can play 25 minutes a night and add a little spice on the power play. And that's what Komarov does. So we'll be on the lookout to see. I don't see a scenario where he finishes the year with Quebec. I think they're going to want to get a nice return for him as they keep, reloading for future iterations of the Remparts. So we'll see how that story plays out with Komarov in the QMJHL. Going over to the OHL real quick, just want to mention that Ethan Miedema up in the Kingston Frontenacs, he has a new coach behind the Frontenacs bench. Last week and a half, Kingston went through a 4-game losing streak where they were outscored by a 24-3 margin, which is just insane. So Kingston general manager elected to make a change behind the bench, bringing in former Belleville Senators head coach Troy Mann. Now, Miedema, hopefully Troy Mann can have an impact and get Miedema going again. Miedema came back from his first NHL training camp. He was around that faster pace of play. He got back to the OHL and just things seemed slower for him. And it showed on the score sheet. Picked up 8 points in his first 5 games, was a very dominant figure in those games. But since that heater to start the season, he's picked up just 1 assist in his last 8 games. So now with Troy Mann behind the bench, maybe he can have a positive impact on him. You got to remember, Troy Mann had his hand in the development of some pretty significant assets for the Ottawa Senators. We're talking about Eric Brandstrom, Josh Norris, Ridley Grigg, Drake Batherson. Those were amongst the guys that played for Troy Mann during his time coaching Belleville. So the track record's there, and I'm sure the Sabres would love to see him have a similar impact on Ethan Miedema as he plays out his junior career with the Kingston Frontenacs. So we'll see where that goes. And I lied. I said I was going to end with the CHL, but I do have 2 other bits that I want to cover real quick. Just some updates on some minor developments, some ice time increases for a couple players. Prokhor Poltapov last week for CSKA, they had their Far East Russia road trip. And in the second game of that road trip, Poltapov picked up, I think it was 19 shifts. It was a total time on ice of 15:53. That was a season high. Also at a season high 4 shots on goal in a 3-2 shootout win. reflective of the upped responsibility that Poltapov was given in that game. He was also tapped on the shoulder to come out as the 5th shooter in the shootout. Didn't score, but nice to see him get out there in the shootout. I think that was his 2nd shootout attempt. Yes, he did. He did have one other one. It was a really longer shootout. I think he came out as like the 8th shooter before and served up an absolute muffin. Didn't even go for a deke. It was a real weak shot. I was kind of disappointed. This one was a little better. Just didn't go in for him. But needless to say, that second line role where he was up with Vladislav Kamenev on the Kamenev line, that lasted just the one game. He was back down into his 4th line spot and went without a point for a 5th straight game. So we'll see if Poltapov can get back on track. Again, started off really strong with 4 goals and 3 assists early in the season. Now he's on a 5-game drought. See if he can get going again when CSKA's back in action Thursday against crosstown rival Spartak. And then over in Finland, talked last week about Viljami Marjala being moved up the lineup into the second line centerman role. He kept that spot last week as TPS ended their 4-game skid with a pair of victories. He came out on Wednesday and skated for 1931 and had a game-high 8 shots on goal and a 1-0 overtime win over Karpat. And then the very next day, again, second line centerman, picked up an assist, snapped that 8-game point drought, and he won 9 of 16 draws in a 3-2 win over the Lahti Pelicans. That's it. I only wanted to go for about 30 minutes. I wouldn't stop talking this week. We went a little long. Dang it all. Dang it. I hope you forgive me. At any rate, I'll cut it short. As always, like the video if you can. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps. I really appreciate you tuning in on YouTube and listening on audio to Prospect Avenue every week. And we'll see you again next time.